Welcome to the East Canfield Village neighborhood in Detroit, Michigan, where Canfield Consortium is located and where co-founders Rhonda and Kim Theus grew up.
The East Canfield Village neighborhood is described as a legacy neighborhood, meaning that families have lived here for generations in homes passed down from parents, grandparents, and great grandparents. Along with this rich legacy comes infrastructure, environmental, and policy issues that affect the quality of life in the area. Our neighborhood is experiencing blighted conditions, depopulation, disinvestment, and a lack of housing development and infrastructure upgrades. We decided to do something about that.
During our first 2 years, we focused on community engagement, learning about the concerns of residents and the type of development they wanted to see. The main concern was the high level of blight ranging from empty homes to vacant and unkept lots. To address this, Canfield Consortium purchased 16 vacant lots and transformed them into vibrant community spaces. Our three projects have been the site of homeownership showcases, voter activation events, community events, and art installations. In 2021, we purchased an abandoned house next to one of our community gardens with the goal of converting the house into a community resource hub that will provide space for business activation for local entrepreneurs, internet access, and pilot a solar energy initiative.
We are determined to create revitalization at the community level.
Good morning. It's great to see everyone. At this time, I'd like to first acknowledge that our proposed project resides on the ancestral land of the Anishwaukee, the Meskwaki, and the Musaga, and the Potawatomi people. It's great to see everyone, and I'd like to introduce our team and share a little bit about our project, which is Alley Activation. Alleys represent the backbone of our community. The future of our neighborhood lies in our ability as residents to make use of these linear spaces. We kept in mind that the alleys in the city of Detroit ownership was deeded over to residents. And our goal in that was to bring back the value in our neighborhood while also putting back life into the community and building equity. Earlier this year, Detroit received a record amount of rainfall. On June 26, many residents in the East Canfield Village community woke up to 2 to 6 feet of floodwater in their basements, in part because alleys are not being used to aid in the flow of stormwater runoff. What if we had an alley lined with rain gardens that absorb excess rainwater to avert future flood events? Underserved communities like ours often carry the weight of cities with no place to put it, but there is power in that predicament. We can be the change that is needed and address the issues that prevent meaningful and sustainable change, which is at the core of our alley activation project. Residents want to see vibrant spaces that reflect their values and cater to their health. Our proposal illustrates what it means for a community to take ownership of the land and demonstrate what it means to empower people to activate the space around them. This is not only land ownership, but it's land authorship and land stewardship.
Morning. My name is Rhonda Theus, and I'm one of the co-founders of Canfield's Consortium. Black people pioneered to Detroit from the South because they were not allowed to own property. The only jobs available to them were farming and domestic work. My parents, as well as the majority of Black people who moved into East Canfield Village, did so to be able to get good jobs, buy a home, and build a family. As recently as 30 years ago, the East Canfield Village neighborhood was a thriving, self-sustaining, and connected community. However, due to disinvestment, systemic racism, depopulation, inequity, and the wealth gap, the community has declined significantly and is grossly underserved. A vast majority of the residents have the means to live in much better neighborhoods. However, we choose to remain here to honor the legacy our families, of the families who sacrificed so much to own these homes. They did something that most Black people in America don't get to the opportunity to do because of systemic racism and the wealth gap, which is to pass property down to their children. The legacy residents of East Canfield Village deserve a good quality of life and a wonderful neighborhood in which to live. Our goal is to revitalize and redevelop the neighborhood at the community level because it's vital for residents to be involved, know that their voices are being heard, and that the development being done is specifically for them. The community-driven development Canfield Consortium has completed to date is gaining momentum because of the support and enthusiasm of the legacy residents. Their disappointment and apathy have turned into hope and action. The projects that have been completed thus far are not only changing the landscape of the neighborhood, it's also changing the spirit of the community. We've completed 2 community flower gardens, a community pavilion and art park, and our first community mural.
There we go. Hello, you all. My name is Corey Beatty, and I'm the president of Detroit Ain't Violent and Safe Davis. The Alley Activation Project started through my work as the cable guy and just seeing the current conditions of most of the alleys here in the city of Detroit, but also taking a look at all of the valuable assets and people that stay abutting these resources. What we begin to look at through our evaluation with these residents are the 3 main things that continue to stand out. How can they improve the economics? How can we improve the ecological surrounding? And how can we make it more recreational for the people in the community? During these evaluations, we started to create a process to be able to better engage with the people in the community. How do we engage better, research better, create better visuals, and move into the implementation space in a new, more innovative way? We begin to look at using new innovative technology, 3D immersive technology, to be able to work with city planners and other developers to bring these ideas that the communities is having into a virtual world and they can see it in real time. Some of the immediate issues, as you heard from the people in the community, was the flooding. So how could we be able to put in rain gardens and bioswales to create what is known as sponge alleys? Right? Another health concern is the food that we're eating in the community. How can we begin to take the food that is grown in our communities and find a way that we can then serve that to the people in our community? But after we eat all of this stuff, we have to get rid of it in our communities properly. And that's what brings us to our recycling and our composting within our alleys in our communities. We're also looking past that point at how can we share tools in our community with residents that don't have access to these, while also building the capacity of our local community block clubs. With building up our community and our garages, how can we start businesses inside of these spaces, after school programs, so that we're bringing in that economic infrastructure all of us desired in? How are we also offsetting the price and the cost for electricity through alternative energies, such as windmills and solar grids and other things, to further encourage the start and launch of these new businesses? We're also looking at bringing in more educational components so that we can involve our children, and also more recreational. Kim?
We're already making an impact through alley activation. We've removed over 1,000 pounds of trash from alleys. Our vision is neighborhood-based, and it's a collaboration between residents and community partners to create alleys that people are engaged in. We are already working with partners to help us realize this vision. I'd like to highlight 3 of these partners very quickly. The Green of Detroit has been doing this work for over 30 years, and we've worked with them to plant over 40 trees in the East Canfield Village neighborhood. We want to partner with them to build rain gardens and bioswales. Rescue Nature Now is a Detroit-based organization that's focused on restoring habitats and educating people around edible plants and pollinators. And Groundwork USA works at the intersection of environment, equality, and community engagement. They've committed to helping us pro bono services to really build out this program so that we can perfect it and move it on to other neighborhoods in the city of Detroit. Canfield Consortium will leverage every dollar of this grant to create neighborhoods that demonstrate the environmental, social, and economic benefits of activated alleys, and show that activated alleys are not only achievable, but they're the future of community development in Detroit. Thank you so much for listening to us.
Thank you so much, Kim. Evaluators, feel free to ask questions.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. If you were chosen as one of the winners, how would this help you? Like, how would this enhance the project? What would be the priorities? And also on the laneways, who owns the laneways? Is that public space or is that private space, the laneways? And by the way, this is a great initiative. I love the presentation. I think it's exciting. But yeah, I wanted to know, like, how would this help you moving forward?
Well, I can take that. We've already built some great initiatives in this over the past, over this summer, we built a rain garden and a council circle, but we've identified partners that can help us scale this up with the windmill that can generate electricity. There's also existing wiring in the alleys that we can tap into to help to bridge that connectivity gap in Detroit. So that money, we have the partners in place, so that money would just help us to, use it to actually build out these platforms that we've already identified.
I'd like to also add that space alleyways in the city of Detroit have been deeded over to homeowners. So everything that we're developing will increase the value of these properties for the residents in our community through this initiative.
Then I'd like to speak to your question of the land ownership. So with regard to the some of the lots that will be bumping up against the alley, the Canfield Consortium and the community own them. And then as Corey spoke to, and Kim also, the alleyways behind where the houses where residents live, they have ownership of that area of the alley. So in essence, the community has ownership of the alleys.
And I can also just add that for this project, for the Thriving Cities Challenge, we have a set of concrete initiatives that we would be able to fund with this additional money that would enable us to activate that one key alley, which could serve as a demonstration site for illustrating the capacity of these alleys to be transformed. But we also have plans to move ahead with activating the alleys here and there a little bit of time in the way that we've been doing by leveraging all the partnerships that have developed organically as people become really, really excited about this project.
That ties into the
Sorry, I think we have another question from Jalon, and then
sorry.
That's okay.
Sadu, go ahead.
No, that's fine.
Okay, well, thank you so much. So first of all, as a native Detroiter, I love seeing this, and congratulations on what you've done so far. I love the elements of health, of energy justice, of waste management, wealth creation, all those pieces, and particularly the flooding that is caused. My parents are actually still living with me because their home was flooded in those late floods in June. So I guess my question to you is, do you feel like you have the support of all of the local agencies that you need? And I'm saying in terms of Parks and Rec from Detroit, the health department, and even in terms of safety. And Corey, getting to, I think, maybe the point of your organization, because alleys growing up were unsafe places, and particularly in the neighborhoods where I grew up. And so I'm wondering, how are you thinking about evaluating all these different aspects of what you're doing? Because you're doing a lot. But what is the evaluation piece? Are you looking at the health impacts, the increase in safety, the wealth development? I know that's a lot in there, but how are you going to evaluate and see what your impact is?
I'd like to take this, and then, of course, anybody else on the team can jump in. Thank you so much for that question. So yes, we do have great partnerships with like DTE, PDD, the Planning and Development Department. I'm sorry, I don't want to use Detroit. Detroit Energy and the Detroit Planning and Development Department are supporting us. We've also had meetings with Detroit Parks and Recreation with our district manager we're in District 4 of Detroit. We have their support. We had a meeting with the mayor actually in July after the floods to talk about that and other initiatives. We have the support of the mayor. So we have been, because of our past projects, gotten a lot of support. We're also a partner with the Detroit Land Bank. So that is why we are able to, be able to purchase all of the property that we develop. And then we've also made inroads to help residents in the community, because ownership is so key in bridging that wealth gap. So we were encouraging and then also helping residents to navigate property purchase. And so a lot of the residents in the community have started purchasing adjacent vacant lots, as well as now vacant structures in the community.
And if I could just speak to that as well briefly.
I'm
Through our
sorry.
part-
We have one more question. I want to make sure we get everything in. Is that okay? And then if we have time at the end, we'll add more. I just want to make sure the evaluators get a chance. Thank you. Sadhu?
Thanks. I love what you're doing. I worked in Chicago for years, and we did a lot of work on greening our alleys. So if you haven't seen that, there were a lot of pilot projects that we did around stormwater and whatnot that you might be helpful to you. But I guess my question, I get a little confused. Is it one block alley that you're focusing on with this project? Or is it multiple alleys that you're working on? And if it's just the one alley, is the alley, like, will the alley continue to be used for transportation? Like, is it continue to be an alley, or are you kind of closing it off from the use of the alley in that way, like garbage collection and stuff, and just using it as a kind of a greenway? Like, just tell us about that.
I guess I could speak to that. So in the 80s, the trash stopped being collected through the alleyways in the city of Detroit, in which that space was then deeded over to the homeowners. Most homeowners has placed their fence lines back to incorporate that extra space into their property lines. Others, in most cases, have simply just forgot about them, and they've become places where dumping takes place. So we're looking to reactivate these places, but not for the use of vehicles, but for bicycles, walking, so that we can connect with other assets throughout that community in that same method, while bringing in these new community members with a focus around what can happen in space that they own, right? So we don't have to deal with city or other municipalities. We're building on the land that they own.
Just to clarify, right now it is one alley behind one block as our pilot, and then we want to share that with the rest of the city.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Sorry, Sadhu. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Canfield Consortium. I